Good day, everybody. We're just we'll wait for attendees to join in as people start joining the call. We'll wait just for a critical mass before we get stuck into this presentation today. Thank you, Sujata and Sanjay, for being with us. It's in some ways it's nice to have fresh meat. We haven't had you presenting before, so not that that's a great description of who you are, but we're looking forward to hearing from you today. So we'll give it just a few more minutes. If people joining want to just put into the chat where they are from, it'd be interesting for us. Omaha, Nebraska. I like the corn cob. Very good. Ah, Germany. Very good. Got some Europeans still awake. Chicago. In California. And I'm in Florida. So, very good. Hi, Prakash, Samir, Mike, thanks. All right, I think let's make a start. Hopefully, folks will be able to just join in. So I'm Roger Cressy, the host for today, and I'm one of the founders of the Cubics Group. We're an Oracle certified partner. We operate around the world doing ERP, EPM, and a large part of our business is analytics. Really, I've been volunteering for the AnDOUC for the past number of years. I work with an amazing bunch of people. And this is a user community that is focused specifically on Oracle Analytics. It's an honor to be able to host this TechCast. We're going to have Sujata presenting to us. We have Sanjay as well, who will be helping with Q&A. He's the big cheese, so we'll, when he speaks, all need to be silent. But we're going to have a presentation on data platform migrations with a few learnings. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Sujata. Okay, so if you have a look, we do a lot of tech casts. We do one pretty much every second week, and you'll find we've actually got one in the mix for the April 20th. It's not been confirmed yet, but on May the 4th, we've got John Mead from Rittman Mead talking. And our previous tech casts you'll find in a library on our website, on the andouc.org website. We'd also like to invite you to please submit abstracts. Anything you're doing that is clever or unusual or cutting edge, or you think would be of interest to other Oracle Analytics users, whether it's graph and spatial and graph, or whether it's Analytics Plus, OAC, ADW, any of the database technologies, we're very interested in hearing from you. So if we can go to the next slide. We've got merchandise. So these are designed by our in-house, by our own Abby Giles Hay. And she has come up with some innovative designs, and this merchandise is available really mostly to the US, but it's just a way to commemorate and get involved with the AnDOUC. Go to the next slide, please, Ms. Sujata. There's lots of ways to connect with us. We're a very community-oriented bunch, and we'd love you to get involved with us. There's obviously our website. We've got a Slack channel specifically set up so that you can actually go in, and actually there are special interest categories within the Slack group for spatial and graph or analytics plus. And it's a really good resource. You can ask the question. A lot of product management are actually on those Slack channels with us. There's YouTube, and there's also, for a short time longer, a Paperly newspaper. Paperly is busy changing their the way they operate. They will not be operating much longer. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So we'd love you to get involved with us. Love you to post about us. And yeah, let's carry on. The next slide. Okay, so that's what we're actually going to be talking about today. So if I can just say, before I introduce the speakers today, the whole presentation is going to be around 30 minutes. We've got some time for Q&A at the end. If you do have a question, please use the Q&A area. Don't put it in the chat, put it in Q&A. I will be watching those, and I will then grab those questions and put them to Sujata and Sanjay at the end. Anyway, let's just introduce them. Sujata Balupala is the VP, Senior IT Manager, Data and Analytics for Bank of the West. She's got over 21 years of experience in software development and testing within financial services and banking domains. She's built high-performing teams. She's able to partner with business to deliver next-generation technical and innovative solutions to do functional work. She is also she lives in Arizona, of all places. I won't say the city name just in case, but she loves to walk. So when she's had enough of coding, she goes for a long walk. So Sanjay Savnas, IT Group Manager, he's the Senior Vice President of Bank of the West. He's a seasoned technology leader with experience in leading data organizations. And that includes Internet of Things, telecom, banking data domains. And he currently heads the core data platform and engineering, analytics and architecture initiative in the banking and financial area. There's a big focus on AI and ML and data governance and data management. So he's a well-rounded, very knowledgeable man. We're very glad to have him on board today. So I've now spoken way too long, but if I can now hand over to you, Sujata. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining again today.
Thank you, Roger. Hi, everyone. I'm Sujata Balupala. Hope I'm audible to all of you. I've been with enterprise data for about past 7 to 8 years. And so I've been a part of a few of the data platform migrations and noticed this perspective. I started thinking about where is the gap between, the tech team who really build the platform versus the business or whoever is using the platform. And so with that in mind, I reached out to my friends, colleagues across business, technical leaders, team members, QA across. And then I gathered their experiences. And here I am today, where I consolidated all of them and will be sharing some best practices, learnings across the usual phases of initiation, planning, design, build, and business as usual. These learnings are not very specific to any of the technology. They are very generic. And though for reference purposes, I will be using big data technologies today. And here is a list of people who contributed, and I am so grateful to all of them for their time and their honest feedback. Let's move on to initiation phase. So how does it begin usually? Usual instigators could be, there are multiple data sets and a consolidation is required. For example, if we have a situation where on online customer attrition, the business needs analysis, bringing together all accounts, activities, transaction data, along with customer interactions, including call center data, is required. But then if we have all this in separate data sets owned by a different line of business, that's a case for a new data platform. Another instigator could be we have challenges with the current platform, and or something like it cannot accept unstructured data, or real-time streaming is not available. This is another, and timely data availability for business actions is very critical. Another case could be modernization is required to keep up with competition. Business anticipates growth and current platform is not helping with faster time to market. That's another case. Whatever may be the instigator, do you think modernization of a platform is a technology program? Let's think about it. I'll give you a case. On one of a modernization program, the team actually took an approach of replacing the technology at every layer. So they started off building, replacing the technology on ingestion. So entire staging layer was totally, with some 40 plus sources, they went ahead and they replaced the technology for the first year. Second year, they went ahead and replaced ODS layer. But then business saw no value to it. And so they put a hold on the program. Per market stats today, 18% of the program is owned by technology, and rest all is always business driven. So though technology modernizations aid with reducing cost or showing performance improvement and a lot of many other features to take advantage of, without a business value, we cannot sustain. They just cannot be sustained. So it is important for us to have a clear vision, goal on why we need the new platform, data platform, which is tied to a business value. And these are very massive multi-year programs. They are not short ones. And so we definitely need to break them out into short-term goals. And even each short-term goal, we need to have a business value tied to it. And a roadmap, of course, tying all these goals to a target or an end state. And please note, the business goal, short-term goal, or the vision are never static. They always keep changing. On one of our experiences, post MVP, there was absolutely no immediate business case to start with. The reason being, the business team also needs some time to understand the new platform, to explore the new platform, and then evaluate their needs. And so the goal was modified to leverage the new platform for any new project integrations. So it is important to have a continuous review, correction, and alignment on goals and roadmap with all the stakeholders. And these programs cannot be like, you just stop, pause, and then go. Perseverance is very important, or we might lose trust. We'll move on to planning phase. So usually when we start with planning, we try and understand the current sources on the existing platform, and also different ways of how data consumption is being done today. Let's see an example on the data platform. So basically, you will be having a different source systems. So we might be having streaming data from an enterprise service bus. We might be having some data sitting in different databases. We might have some digital data or some experience sort of a data coming real time. A lot of flat file data from external vendors. So understanding this different types of sources, how they're coming, probably will help us with building our new interfaces on data ingestion part. And on the core, if you see how is the metadata maintained, what kind of data framework we have on data quality, and how complete is the data catalog, what's our data governance mechanism, and from a security standpoint, do we have any encryptions for PII? So those things we will, want to analyze on, what's existing. So we compare and then we actually think about on the new platform. And from a data consumption standpoint, how are the data marts grouped, whether, they are specific to each line of business or how are they set up? And from further downstream consumption, how are the reporting tools consuming this data from the core? And do we have any real-time data being used for reporting or alerting? That's sort of a data consumption layer as well. Moving back, so this actually understanding the current platform will enable us to identify the right end-to-end data flow for MVP working with business. This is an important step because the scope for MVP will drive many decisions on tools, technology, and team as well. And also during planning, while we are doing tools evaluation, we would want to consider data growth and customizations for a long-term vision. And also the current set of tools, which especially the business team is using on data consumption. I'll tell you why that is important. On one of our experiences, what had happened was there was resistance from, it was actually a platform which was moved to big data Hadoop. And so there was resistance from business to move to Unix Hive technology because the teams were so used to SQL for all data exploration and analysis. dbeaver was provided later, but then it definitely impacted adoption. And the next point is from a budget standpoint, these programs definitely fall into our R&D, research and development category. There needs to be a provision for business to explore and then, evaluate their needs. Another critical aspect is team talent. So most of the times during planning, we focus all our, or we just focus on the team who's going to build the new platform, which is good, but it also helps to think about all the team members, including the business on the new technology, or, provide some forums for them to learn the new technology. Moving on to design phase. This is the phase where, you have a lot of discovery to be done. Think of a complete architecture, overall architecture, data flow, tech stack. Think of environments to be built, network configurations, access, components, software components, and many more. But then when we think about that, when we start our design process, current platform challenges or drawbacks, it is important for us to know, but they should never be the driving factors. Let's see an example here. This is a data flow example. So on the current platform, understanding all sources will help us to actually have interfaces. Maybe, we need to have a real-time interface. We need to have near real-time events being captured as a part of another framework in the ingestion. We may be having large files to be uploaded, and that's via batch. So different interfaces we would, think about and plan during our design. And on the core, probably, any sort of data encryption, tokenization is one. And on data consumption, do we need to have a database connectivity for reporting tools to query data and then build out reports, or, any real-time consumption, real-time events are consumed for alerting or building other probably advanced analytics or data wrangling. These could be, later on we can think about those. But then this, the kind of, initial enthusiasm technical teams have, they think about so many things when we actually, put together an overall architecture. But when we realize, it's very hard to realize all of them at once. So prioritization of what we want to achieve or the MVP becomes key there. So in one of our experiences, what happened was on the ingestion framework, we used a batch flow to build because of time constraints. But then that was already existing in the current data platform. And so business did not see any value. Instead, a framework using real-time events for ingestion could have been built. So that would have been a different case and easy for business to adapt. Now, on the core, data quality, governance, catalog are very critical for a strong foundation. Along with the core components, focus on identifying the right data for ingestion and consumption to make your MVP successful is what we would want to focus on. And of course, on the usual concepts of design on building reusable models, having modularization, defining guidelines and standards, documentation is definitely the key. And also design should allow for some few alternate paths. Let me give an example for that. On one of our platform journeys, data catalog on all sources, capturing PII information for encryption was captured in Atlas. And a metadata-driven framework was used. It was implemented automating all the ingestion of new data sources. When a new source, whenever we are integrating as a part of a new project, not all source data has complete catalog information, right? So most of the times we have to follow up with business and then try and understand, is this field a PII or no? So, and we usually have very short timelines for project implementation. So in such cases, when we have limited time and we do not have all fields information, so what helped us, we considered all those elements as PII and went ahead with development. So, and parallelly, we were trying to, gather that information, and later on we could update it. And lastly, defining access controls as to what kind of access groups, what permissions do you want for each of these groups. Thinking about it during the design phase is important, as it gives you, it can be implemented faster during build phase. Moving on to build phase. This is the fun phase. Do you think hiring SMEs for the new platform technology will help build faster? On one of our programs, team went extra mile to get MVP live in an year. So initially, the ingestion framework was built with the help of a vendor. I think NiFi was used. And then it was transitioned to an in-house team who were self-learners, motivated, and they trained. They had an opportunity to change the ingestion framework. They redesigned it with all custom process for better reusability and lesser time on implementation. I think without rigid timelines and allowing the team to explore, helped gain trust to achieve faster delivery. So I think it is important to have the right composition of the team with experts, data nerds, and passionate learners. Process versus timelines. I strongly believe that process should always help with easier development and implementation and not an overhead. On our context, we had multiple developers working on different components. So CI/CD and other best practices on development and deployment were mandatory. We had a 2-week sprint with deployment at end of each sprint. Due to this tight schedule and limited number of environments for development and testing, access was not provided to other team members, as it's always, they would impact data and then it would impact the delivery schedule. It was a phase where half of the team was getting experience on the new technologies, and other half wanted to train, but then they didn't have access. Later, a view-only access group was enabled along with a lot of documentation on how to get access. But my friends, thinking about it early on will help with faster adoption for the entire team. And so here, having a sandbox environment, thinking about it, it not only it's very extremely helpful not only for data exploration for business, but also for training purposes for entire team. And another thing which helped us was WebEx recordings on all sorts of onboarding trainings, on overview, architecture, tools, frameworks at each layer, and what has been implemented so far, process and others. They were very helpful to have a quick ramp up of the rest of the team. And again, at this phase, it is very important to have continuous reviews with business and alignment with stakeholders. That's always critical. Sometimes what happens is technology teams, we just get carried away. We try and find use cases on technical improvement, but they do not, they fail. They do not go to production because we didn't have alignment before with the business. Moving on to business as usual. There is no business as usual for a data platform migration, or when you're building a new data platform, because it's always a learning, evolving phase with many more additions and integrations. So what we noticed is that post MVP, there are usually a lot of frameworks, components to be developed. And in parallel, we tend to do a lot of projects, integrations into the new platform as well. So it is good to have two separate teams. So one focused on building more of reusable models for all net new use cases. And then another team focusing on integrating these components into the project, or whatever use case we have. On one of our experiences, we had a core team on the new platform who basically developed or built that platform. So they were all core SMEs in that team, knowledgeable on all components built so far. And for projects, what had happened was it was the project team responsibility to hire people on board the project. And so what had happened was the new team members had a ramp up time, and they had to actually, understand the competence built so far. So they had dependency on the core team, and core team was, again, there was a bandwidth issue because they were already working on a lot of new frameworks as well. So with that lesson, what we think is that we should have both teams aligned in a single group. So that way, during sprint demos, whatever new models, new components are built, that's always shared with the integration team. And it's not, a constant new team members being added into here. The set of integration team members are already trained and they are just allocated to projects. So that way, from a business as usual phase perspective, I think that's the better recommendation. With that, I think, I've spoken too much about all the phases. We can open Q&A.
Actually, I had a question, and that was in instances where you are struggling with adoption of item, talk about this process, you talked about ring that you are having difficulty getting people to adopt the new system. That you would do specifically, any practices you would follow?
Sorry, Roger, can you repeat that? You were breaking.
I apologize. I was saying, if if you have problems with adoption of your new system, are there specific tools that you use to get people on board?
It is actually not to do with specific tools. I think the new technology itself, if I think people are not trained on that technology. So more often it is, training the team itself is a problem there.
Okay. Yeah. So skills transfer.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I do have two. I'm not sure if that's a he or a she, forgive me. But Samir is asking, what kind of data volumes are you dealing with? Is the first question. And I suppose that does very much depend on what system you're building, but maybe you could give an idea.
Sure. Sanjay, do you want to take that data volume wise? And I know. Sure.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. So, hey, thanks, Sujata, for taking us through. And I had really those moments when I started putting those diagrams, looking at those, it really feels good. Before I go there, I touch on a few things, right? What is it? You may have to ask, what is technology modernization itself? So that's a big question. If you can answer, you can get to that point. Hey, it's the capabilities, right? So what capabilities that you want to bring to enable your business? So there's a great technology, but business doesn't adopt, I think we fail. So I think Sujata touched upon it. So those are important things. And most of the organization nowadays, data rich, insights poor. So how do we really close the gap? That's when technology modernization comes, and you have to look at the capabilities and set up the technology platform team and watch it went through the interesting challenges, right? So now coming back to the volume, right? So if you want to start big bang or you want to do incremental, so that decision you have to make. So what we did, we looked at existing platform and new platform. Let's add the new capabilities that we can show the value to the business. Exactly that Sujata was alluding to. So basically look at the gap, focus on that one, add those business values. How do you reduce the conversion time? It can be anything to reach out a customer or your immediate customer, internal, external, doesn't matter. So those areas you focus on, then data volume is a measure of success, right? I'll come to that. So I have done in past 150 billion events per day. What that really means is all end of the day, on the other end, you start adding the value. So at this stage, the platform that we built along with Sujata and other team members, we consume almost like a close to terabytes a day. And we have this on-prem system. So how do you really think data as a file or as an event? Can you consider file as an event as well, not just a real-time event? So with that approach, you can consume more data or less data. So convert the file to an event, then consume it so that you can consume more. You can address issues at the same time, and you can grow and scale. So you have one interface to consume any data. It doesn't matter if it's a file or an event or it could be anything. So in the order of terabytes we started with, now we consume a lot more than maybe twice the amount we do every day. And with this generic framework that Sujata was mentioning that we built, so that focus on the federate activity. Engineering team cannot be in between for every time business wants something, right? So because of that approach, as she mentioned, we're able to scale and adapt new sources very quickly and increase the volume, right? So I think that's how I look at it. Data size versus what you're trying to solve and how we build it. I hope that answers, overall the direction that we took.
Actually, I think to some degree you've answered the next question as well, Samir. But the next question, sorry, was from Samir. Sanjay, sorry, calling you Samir, the person who's asked the question. They're saying, any thoughts on performance and data archiving? I guess that comes back to some of the things you've already said. But
Yeah.
is there any further?
So question about data archiving. Yes, you do archive the data. That always the backbone for many reasons, replayability and audit and compliance requirements. It all goes by the business. So you do retain the data to a certain extent depending on your requirement. So then you have to look at the storage capability. So what you store, if you normalize the data, model it for access versus you want to play historic data, time series data, you want to do some real time versus historic analytics. So data should be available. And how do you address in terms of access, permissions, that Sujata that I talked about, same things apply. So it's a division you need to make a decision. It's very business specific, but there are technical solutions as well, how we really implement it.
Great. Very good. And Samir's got another question. What kind of metadata management tools did you use and virtualization tools are in use for data lineage, cataloging?
Very good question. So we have a mix of open source tools and commercial tools that we use. And we're on-prem system. And one thing I'm proud to say, team built some unique solutions using open source tool like Apache Atlas. And we built many frameworks using that tool for many, many use cases. So that's where our robust frameworks helped us to really activate data management from the beginning itself. If you want to ingest a source, the data management activity comes through using these tools, how we orchestrate, how do you tag the information, and how do you use that information real time to really control the data flow into the platform. So Apache Atlas is one tool. We are Informatica shop. We use Informatica tools as well. And we built many tools using a lot of open source as well, so that we can adapt where we want and helps us to scale, right? So there's a balance between what you really own as an IP and what tools you really buy or build. That's one decision you have to make depending on team structure and capabilities and talent, right? So we tend to really hold the data ingestion process too close to our chest so that we have better control and use some open source tools and commercial tools to really augment many other activities, which are very critical to the business.
Yeah, we did use Colibra, Samir.
Yeah. All right. Samir says thank you. So yeah, I mean, that's in some ways that building that orchestration integration, that's one on your last slide that's actually still showing. That's where you can use reusable models, isn't it? Make sure that you're keeping things consistent and have a certain methodology about ingesting new data and metadata. So, no, very well. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been very informative, as always. The type of things that you are talking about here are practical and important for people considering these things. So thank you very much for your presentation today, Sujata. And Sanjay, thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate you coming on as well. That's why they pay him the big bucks, says Sujata. He can answer all the nasty questions. All right. Thanks, everybody. With that, we'll end the TechCast. If there's any further questions, you just reach out to us. We'll direct questions to Sujata and Sanjay. And this TechCast will be published probably during the course of next week on our website. So if you know of anybody who missed it or wasn't available for it, then you can tell them to come to the website, to AnDOUC.org. So with that, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thanks for your efforts, Sujata and Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you.